Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
So what happened to Atlantis? Do you know?
It sunk.
But this game is called Atlantis Rising.
So apparently has floaters.
Well, no, what happened is some scientists figured out that Atlantis was rising, but no one else believed them. So they made a capsule and put their sun in it and sent it off to a faraway planet. No, wait.
Isn't that a movie?
That's a movie. No, what they're doing is they're building some kind of portal to get Atlantis out, move them somewhere else. And so this is a cooperative game in which each of you is one of the major scientists. You are trying to rally people behind you to get them to go out and get the supplies so that you can build things, all doing this before Atlantis sinks. Sound simple? The game takes place on the board of Atlantis. Players are working cooperatively to stop this island from sinking. The island sinks with each piece coming out like this and turning over, and you can see that the island will slowly start to sink. As the island sinks, you're losing the game. When every piece sinks, essentially when the last piece sinks in the middle, this piece right here, then the game is over and everybody loses. Now, what you are trying to do to prevent this is you're trying to build machinery. Now, you're going to do that by drawing cards from these decks here. There's A, B, C, and D. Basically, that's just to determine the difficulty of the game. So for the easy game, you would draw 3 of each, 3 of A, 3 of B, and 3 of C. That keeps the difficulty at a manageable level as opposed to using decks B, C, and D, for example. Now, you have these different pieces of machinery that you need to build, and for each one you need a specific number of resources, and when you build it, it will give you a special ability that you can take one time when you build it. The power core is always needed, it's used in every game, but the other ones are going to be random depending on what game you're building. Now, what players are going to do is each player is going to have a certain amount of people who are working for them. You don't get all your workers, you'll get more as the time goes by, and you're going to take turns placing these around the board. Now when you place them, you're going to place them on tiles, and each tile, as you can see, has a certain amount of spots for workers. So here I could put 3 people here, or I could put 2, and it's possible to put, you know, different colors from the different players. The only one where you need to put all the same is over here, because here you need to put a certain amount of people to get another person to join you, another worker to join you. So if I put 2 workers on this tile, I will get another worker. Now, most of the tiles involve getting resources. Here you roll a die, and if you roll the number on that, you'll get those resources. Here you can trade the black resource for 2 of the Atlantium, here for 1 of the Atlantium. Over here you can get the ore, and over here you can draw special cards. And then in the forest you can get some of the white cubes, the different resources that are needed to build the different things. So players are going to put out all their people. Players are also allowed to send some of their Atlanteans here to go and fight the invasion force that's coming in. Now, after everyone has put them out, you will roll dice, draw cards, do whatever you can. But before you get to take those actions, each player is going to draw one of these unfortunate events. This here says flood libraries. So I would take the farthest section out and flood it. Now what this does is it makes where you put your people very interesting, because let's take a look here at the forest, for example. Now at the forest you can see that on the outmost forest part I need a 4 or higher to get a white cube, then a 5 or higher, 5 or higher, 6 or higher, 6 or higher, 6 or higher. So the best place to go is here, but the chance of this one being flipped and having your person fall into the water is the highest. And so you have to kind of determine where you're going to put your people. So when you're drawing these cards here, they really could be all sorts of things. It could be flood one of the forges, or sometimes it's even worse, a controlled flood where you flood 2 tiles in any one section. But every once in a while, you get a calm seas where nothing happens. But all sorts of negative effects will come from those. But after the negative effects have come, and anybody who is on a tile that's flooded is returned to their owner, then players will roll dice, they'll take their resources, get more workers, get special knowledge cards from this section, and that's pretty good. Now, these knowledge cards are fantastic. You can, like, for example, choose a section, mountain, hills, or forest. All target numbers in that section are reduced by 1 this turn. Give or take a mystic energy, resource, courage token, or knowledge card to or from another player. That's important because you really never can trade otherwise. Pay one less resource when you're building a component of the portal that you're building over here. So there's all sorts of good special cards. And so players can do this simultaneously, or they can do it in order. And then players have to roll a die for the fleet here that's attacking. There's a special die that the game includes that has 2 3s, 4s, and 1 5 on it. And you will roll that die, and you will add the number that the ship is currently onto it. And you better have that many people. Otherwise, the difference is going to be sunk in island sections. And that's up to you which island sections are sunk, but that still could be a lot of island sections. And then the ship will move over 1, which will change the modifier. So in a 4, 5, or 6 player game, that 12 plus modifier is going to be hitting you if you wait too long. After you've sunk all those components, then players can build the components of the machine that they're trying to build. Each player can build up to 1 component. If you finish the machine, you've won. Otherwise, you start another turn. So it's not like there's a ton of different victory conditions here. Simply, if the island sinks, you lose. If you build all the components, you win. A few more things. Each player is going to get a person that they are, a scientist that they are, which gives them a special ability. For example, here, the Explorer, all target numbers to collect resources are reduced by 1 for this person. The Scholar, whenever you draw 1 or more knowledge cards, you can draw 1 extra card or keep 1 extra card. This guy gets an extra courage token every turn. And I guess I should mention courage tokens. Courage tokens you can get from fighting the Navy. Whoever sends the most gets a courage token, in other ways. When you put out one of your workers, you can put a courage token underneath them, and if the island that they're on sinks, they get to stay there. You discard the courage token instead, and they get to stay there and still do whatever they were trying to do on that island section. You also have mystic energy tokens, and these are used for a wide variety of things. You can always send your person to the middle to get one of those rather than anywhere else. And these can be used to add to your die rolls. You can get a certain amount of them. You can stop a tile from being flooded, or you can even unflip a tile. So these can be very handy as a game. You might even get to put up mystic barriers, which you can put somewhere, and when that section is going to be flooded, the barrier goes first. Other than that, the game is very straightforward. Get the resources you need to build the sections without the island being sunk. Because if it's sunk, then you've all sunk and the game is over. We talk a lot about cooperative games these days, and semi-cooperative and partially cooperative. This is a straight-up full cooperative game.
Absolutely.
There's no one person wins, whoever has most points.
There's no traitor either.
You either all win or you all lose.
That's what this game needs.
A traitor?
A traitor.
All right, let's talk about component quality.
Traitor.
I think that this game looks stupendous.
Yes.
As the tiles turn over, it really looks like the island's sinking. Yeah. You really feel that. The looks add to the sense of stress, because you look at the board and you're like, whoa.
Yes, our butt is in the meat grinder.
Yeah, well, I guess that would lead us to our next point, yes, which is that this is not an easy game.
Not even on the easy level. They should not call this easy. They call this a normal level, and then it gets harder.
If you've played cooperative games before, this one reminds me a lot of Ghost Stories, because the first time we played Ghost Stories, we're like, oh yeah, let's play Ghost Stories, and then the game just reached up and smacks you around for a while. And
can I do that one?
To yourself, sure.
Oh no.
And it feels like we cannot beat this, but you can. Yeah. You can. Now this game has dice rolling, again like Ghost Stories, so I don't really care what your plans are. There are some days
it's manageable. There are cards you can play to make the dice rolls easier and that type of thing. So it's not just straight up dice rolling. There's characters that help you. They give you pluses and minuses whenever you need them. That type of thing. So
The game, the number of players actually does determine how difficult it is. I think that 4 is probably the hardest number to play with.
Yeah.
But a good thing about the game is the fact that it's not that long. The box says 30 to 60 minutes, or 30 to 90 minutes, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I think that depending on how you play the game, I think an hour is a very reasonable time length for this game, depending on how fast you die.
Yes.
Did you feel like there was a lot of difference between players and their special abilities?
I think there were, yeah. I mean, you each had your own role, so to speak. Not that you can't change roles during the game, of course, but the guy you take has his part in saving Atlantis, if you want to put it that way, because you each get to do different things. You both have your specialty that you're good at. So without any one, it becomes even more difficult to win. So yeah, there's good difference between all the different characters.
Now, this isn't the first time we've seen a cooperative game about a sinking island. There was Forbidden Island, but that's a much lower level, although I don't think this one is that complex. We had Sam's son play it, who's 12, I believe.
Yes.
And he didn't have any problem at all, was right there in with us. I mean, it's a very straightforward game. Get resources, build machinery parts with those resources, and try not to die along the way.
Try not to die first, and then all that other stuff.
The game really snowballs fast to an ending. You have to be really careful.
That's true. It did, but even at the end of the game that we played, we came really close.
Yeah.
I mean, we almost won, but it almost just doesn't count.
All right. Well, one of the interesting things, this is a cooperative, and like some cooperatives, if someone gets in there and tells everybody what to do, that could be a problem in this game. We have too many hardheads in our group for that to happen. But where would you place this on the cooperative scale? Like, is this the best cooperative you played? Where would you put it behind cooperatives? Like, for right now, my favorite cooperative is probably Ghost Stories. And I would put this one in the upper third of cooperatives. I would play this a lot. In fact, I'm keeping it in my collection.
Which means a lot.
Yeah, it really does mean a lot. And I'm getting rid of Yggdrasil. So I think it's better than Yggdrasil. But part of the reason I like it is because of the fantastic component quality, and I enjoy the theme. The theme works really well for me. And I like that it's really hard, and because of the card drawing and dice rolling, games will never play out the same. So that all works together for me. So I'm giving this one 2 rising thumbs up.
I would probably, I would rather play games like BSG or Shadows over Camelot.
You like that trader aspect?
Yes. I like the aspect of a traitor in cooperative games, to where you feel like everybody's on board, but then surprise, somebody isn't on board, and they've been working.
I'm sure that's an expansion for this.
But maybe that is in the expansion. But I really can't understand why an Atlantean would want to keep his home from sinking.
To doom.
So I think it would be
He's insane.
Anti-thematic if he did that.
All right,
so
but where do you place this?
I would place this probably in the.
Do you like it better than Pandemic?
Yeah, I'd play this over Pandemic probably, just because I think it has a better production value than Pandemic did, and I like looking at the board. I'm an aesthetic kind of person as far as that's concerned. So I would play it more than Pandemic, but so I guess it's in the upper, it's in the upper lower half.
All right,
that makes sense. It's between. 40
he gives this one a C.
40 and 50.
All right. Well, so you're giving it a thumb up?
Yeah, I'll give it a thumb up for play, gameplay value and enjoyment from it. I'll definitely I'll give it a thumb and a half up. Like, I did enjoy the game, but I'm not going to ask for it all the time. But I would probably play it whenever we wanted to. Yeah, but it is hard.
It is, but we will conquer.
Yes.
Atlantis will rise again.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.